All right. Young black men over the age of 21, I want you to pay special attention to this video. I'm not going to put it on my I might put it on my gun channel later, but this is like a public service announcement to young black men because what's about to go down is going to have young black men, especially in the state of Florida, needlessly going to jail over technicalities. And that's essentially what it's designed to do. So I contacted one of my peoples down in Florida. Some of you have heard me make videos with him. So, I hit him up because, I saw that Florida passed constitutional carry. So now we're looking at over 50% of the United States recognizes constitutional carry, which means you don't have to get a permit to carry in order to carry a firearm on your person, right? So you still got to go through background checks to purchase guns, all that other stuff, but you don't need to have a license to carry, a CCW license, a license to carry a concealed weapon, none of that. You can just go to the gun store, buy your gun, buy a holster, throw it on your hip, walk out the door, you're good to go, right? But I called him up today I wanted to get, his sense on, constitutional carry. Personally, despite the fact that I'm a big 2A advocate, Second Amendment, self-defense, all that stuff person, I don't believe in constitutional carry. Just as a philosophy. And I do believe that there should be licensing for people to carry firearms. And the reason I say that is, my man in Florida agrees with me because, like, even how him and I met, you know, he had his CCW, I had my CCW, and then there were some other like knuckleheads that we ended up, having to interact with just because of proximity. And these would be guys that would try to, brag and boast and, that they were in the streets and that they were gangsters and all this other shit, just these type, just want to be guys who would sit around and talk about, guns that they didn't have, confusing calibers with one another, which let us know that, they didn't know what they were talking about. Right. And these are guys that were younger than us. We would try to, whatever, coach, school them. We were out there minding our business, but they would come over and talk and interact with us and everything. But they would just be like young, immature, clout chasing guys talking a whole bunch of bullshit that we knew was bullshit. And everybody wants to be a tough guy. Well, he had his fire on him. I had my fire on him, on myself. So like we weren't too worried. But these were the type of individuals where it's like after you get to talking to them, you're like, you don't need a concealed carry weapon because you're just an idiot. It's just one of them type of situations. And there's plenty of people like that all across America. It's just like, you're an idiot. You don't know how to critically think. Like think about it. Like you got people that are in YouTube comment sections that say so much dumb shit. Like, would you want that person to be able to carry a firearm? Right? I'm not trying to go all, Chuck Schumer on you or Nancy Pelosi on you, but I'm just saying there's certain people where it's like, I feel like there needs to be, some sort of a filter. I don't think there should be a barrier. It shouldn't be a tall barrier. I don't think fees should be, $100 for your license to carry, 15, $20. You go through the background check, you take whatever, a weekend class or you take a 8-hour class or whatever. They tell you what the laws are. You understand the seriousness of the laws. You get your permit and then you can carry your gun. I don't think it should be too much to it, but you need to be, it should really be driven home the seriousness of what it means to carry a firearm. That's just me. But anyway, so I called him and I was like, yo, what you think about this whole, constitutional carry? He doesn't like it. Right? Which, it's funny because him and I are both like, hell yeah, go to the gun show, 2A, da 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 da. But we still recognize there's some idiots out here. They're just idiots. They're not evil people. They're not bad people. They're just dumb people. Okay? And I don't want to sound too elitist when it comes to it. I'm like, look, hey, you go and whatever the minimum requirements are, fill out the paperwork. I don't have no issue. Because my whole thing is like this. If you can't take the time to fill out the paperwork, you know how I feel, right? Shit spills into other areas. Certain areas of irresponsibility in one area usually spills into another area, right? It's like, dude, you can't even go and fill out the paperwork. Come on, man. Why should you carry a gun if you're too fucking lazy to go down there and fill out the paperwork? It's not like it's shall issue. It's not like you're not going to get it. What do they want? Driver's license, fingerprinting. Okay, how much is fingerprinting? Oh, they want $15 for fingerprints. Okay, you might have to take a day off of work. Whatever it is, go online, fill out this, schedule the appointment. Some states have this whole mental health background check. Okay, you don't have any priors, right? You got no issues, right? Okay, fill this shit out. You know what I mean? It's like when you file your taxes, stop being lazy, right? And so I have an issue with people being lazy and wanting to carry guns like that. Like those two things don't mix. That's just me. I know the super ultra fuds and the crazy 2A people, they'll try to come for you for saying that. But I'm like, nah. Like I don't know what white dudes deal with in rural America. I'm sure they got like, the town drunk or the town belligerent or something like that they don't want to have carry, and he's got no priors. But in the black community, we got like a similar thing, like these wannabe thug type of guys and guys that are out here clout chasing. There's the guys that are over here self snitching and posting their guns on social media when they shouldn't have them, or they're too young to have them, or they're a felon and they have them. And I'm like, what do you do? What are you doing? Just dumb, just stupid stuff. And a lot of them already have the guns. They already have them, whether they're polymer 80s, whether they're stolen, whatever, they have them at home. But they're not dumb enough to walk out of the house with it, but they're too lazy to go off and get the permit, right? So it's like, okay, well, you the type of motherfucker, I don't think you should have one any goddamn way because you're an idiot. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have one in their home to protect themselves or whatever, but the whole being out in public, like if they're a hothead, all type of stuff, right? The people that I see, the people that I interact with that have concealed carry permits, like when the barrier is like kind of high enough, it filters out the idiots. It's kind of like how, certain clubs like to have cover because it keeps out the riffraff. You try to bar hop and you go to a club and then the cover is $20. The riffraff won't go there. They're like $20. You know what I mean? They won't go there. The people that try to start fights over bullshit, you stepped on my ones. Those people, you don't want them there. The higher the cover, the less likely those people are going to be in there. Right. So anyway, I asked him about it. He was like, yo, we already been there. I asked him about the whole, constitutional carry. He said, we already been there. He's like, Trick Daddy, 1020 life. I was like, what the hell is 1020 life? He was like, look, I'm trying to tell you. He's like, it's a trap. So I had to slow him down because he was like getting ahead of me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, break it down to me. What do you mean it's a trap? It's a nigga trap. I'm like, what are you talking about? So basically, Florida wants to have constitutional carry. Right now, you got to have, if you want to carry a handgun, a pistol, you got to have your weapons permit, right? But they used to have this sort of constitutional carry thing going on like way back in the day. Like people would just carry guns or something. This is what he was telling me. Now, if there's some Floridians that want to give me the details, because I'm not saying he's the most detailed oriented person, but he gave me enough to get the gist of what he was breaking down as a dude that, formerly used to be in the streets. And he was like, nah, it's a trap. He was like, that's why I got my CCW. I'm like, okay. He was like, basically, having a CCW covers you a lot more. And I was like, okay, well, how wouldn't constitutional carry cover you, right? So we went through all the stuff, the stand your ground, all that. And he brought up a couple of really good examples of how it's a trap. He's like, okay. He's like, let's say you got your CCW and you get into it with another dude and he's constitutionally carrying and something pops off. He pulls out, you pull out, you shoot the dude dead, right? I'm like, okay, you stood your ground, you shot the dude dead. But you got a concealed carry permit. He doesn't. Who do you think the officers are going to believe? I was like, that's a good point. I was like, I ain't really think about that, because you having a concealed carry weapons permit does put you've already been vetted. You've already been checked out. They don't know who this dude is. You know what I mean? Like if everybody's constitutionally carrying, right? You don't know a person's a felon that's carrying that gun. It would be unwise for a felon to do it, right? But you don't know what they got going on until you vet them, right? This is why you get the liberals and a lot of police officers saying they don't like constitutional carry. They're like, hey, you can carry, but again, get your paperwork and everything else. That way, when you show me your license, I can breathe, you know, a sigh of relief, right? But he went even further. He was like, look, he was like, the whole problem with the constitutional carry is that 1020 life shit, the law of the 1020 life. So basically, 1020 life, and you can Google it, look it up. There's a whole bunch of, you know, even like, you know how like if you've been arrested, you know, called, you know, Morgan and Morgan law firm, blah, 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 you know, to try to, you know, get you know, to get out of getting jammed up. But the penalties are so stiff, right? Because Florida's a Republican state. So they're like on the, we're tough on crime. We're not like New York. So I forget what exactly it is. They got one where it's like you get charged and you get hit with 3 years. But the 1020 life mainly is, 10 years, 20 years, and then life, which is 25 and above. If you don't know what a life sentence, it's not technically a life sentence like for the rest of your life in jail, but 25 years and up is considered a life sentence. Okay, that's the technical term of it. But so there's a whole bunch of stuff where you can get jammed up. He said, okay, he's like, let's go back in time. Let's say you a young black man, you're not really in the streets, but you hang out with street dudes, right? You hang out with dudes that smoke weed. You hang out with dudes that, maybe you smoke some weed, right? And you know how you're not supposed to smoke weed and own guns. On the 4473, it's like, are you addicted to marijuana and everything? Just because people smoke weed doesn't mean that they're addicted to marijuana. I always thought that was a stupid question. Are you addicted to weed or alcohol or any other sort of substance on the 4473 when you fill out your thing for the background check? But he was like, let's just say, you out there with your boys and everything, and it's constitutional carry, and y'all driving around and whatnot. Your man's got a gun in the car or something like that. And y'all, somebody in the car smoking weed or got weed. And he was talked about how in Florida, the amount of weed that you have to possess, like there's personal weed, which like they don't really care about. And then there's weed that's more than personal weed, to where now they're going to start trying to be like, oh, you trying to, distribute or something like that. Like he talked about how his son likes to walk around. His son smokes weed. He acknowledges it. And he's like, his son, walks around with a scale. And he's like, now let's combine those two things. You got constitutional carry. You don't have a permit. You walking around with a scale. And, when he goes to purchase his weed for personal consumption, he's like, he brings the scale with him just to make sure, that it's the right amount. You got this little tiny digital scale or whatever. And he was like, so now let's just say you get jammed up with the gun, the weed, and all that stuff. Like you get caught, you get pulled over, whatever it may be. Now that leads into, oh, well, you got a scale and you got, the gun and you got drugs. So now it turns into, you had a gun during the commission of a felony. And I was like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that. He was like, I got a CCW. He was like, let's just say I get jammed up on some weed. I'm going to get hit with the weed charge. They might take my license, but I'm going to get hit with the weed charge. I'm not going to get hit with the weed charge and, a gun charge in conjunction with the weed charge, which is going to put me into, and we're not just talking possession here. Let's just say you just had just slightly over whatever that amount is in Florida that puts you into you were trying to sell drugs or some shit like that. Now you're looking at a gun charge and a drug charge. And now that whole mandatory minimum comes in, because that's the whole thing. There's no discretion. I mean, when you read the law, it says right in there, the judges have no power, no discretion, no mitigating circumstances, nothing. Okay. And we already know about the race soldier cops and pulling people over and looking for shit. You see, and so what the constitutional carry is going to do for black men in Florida Is this going to jam them? I hear all these people, they worried about white supremacists and neo-Nazis and all that shit and how they're going to intimidate black people. That's not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be them trying to, get you jammed up on one thing, and then now you merely possessing that firearm in conjunction with whatever felony they try to stick on you. Now you're in possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. And now you're looking at 10 to 20 years. And the whole thing, it goes possession of a firearm during, and it's like a whole list. Obviously you got the most egregious ones, kidnapping, they even have arson in there. Kidnapping, carjacking, robbery, burglary, all that. And they actually used to have, and this is where shit gets real ugly, like what is it called? Aggravated assault. Right? So let's say you got the gun on you, right? And you get into a fight, but you don't use the gun. You get into a bar fight or something, or, something happens, you rolling with the slightly wrong crowd or whatever, but whatever. You're young. We all know what goes on with young men and shit like that. Everybody rowdy, everybody, is all charged and everything. So you could get caught up in some dumb shit. Okay? But because you got the firearm on you and you don't have that CCW, if anything goes down, again, they took it out, but before it was aggravated assault, and I wouldn't even play with it, even if it's not even on the books. They can probably try to get you for something else. You can be charged with, in possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Bam, mandatory 10 years in prison. Even though you didn't pull the gun out, maybe the gun didn't even have any bullets in it. Don't even matter. It's you got jammed up on some technicality type of shit. It's like that shit with the Jay Williams. You ever watch Jay Williams, the white dude? He's like a white dude from Virginia. He talks about how, basically he grew up, more or less like black. He's black. He's comfortable with black people and everything else like that. Went to prison and all that other stuff. He's got a whole bunch of stories. And I've watched his channel a number of times. And he has so many examples of people getting jammed up, because on technicalities, like they're doing major time in prison on technicalities, just straight up technicalities. He had the one guy that he shot the 4 people because, his brother was a drug dealer. He kept his brother's drugs. His brother's drug dealing partner wanted to come pick up the drugs. He started using them a little bit. And then they started threatening his house and everything. And then they came and they rolled up and he smoked the whole car. And the prosecutor tried to make it like it was 2 women in the back of the car. Nobody was armed. So they were all unarmed. So he had quadruple homicide. And, they threw the book at him, tried to say it was a drug deal gone bad. Even though they had been threatening him, but he never called the cops and everything. Totally different situation, right? It's a totally different situation, different state, all that. But I'm just saying, Jay Williams has a lot of stories where people get caught up on technicalities and stuff. It wasn't like there was any real malicious intent, but because they were wrong, it's like in legalese, in law school, they'll teach you about the fruit of the poisonous tree. And it works in both directions. It's like this shit with police officers. If they don't, it used to be if they didn't read you your Miranda rights, or if they did an illegal search, then everything downstream gets thrown out of court. Well, the same thing, with, again, constitutional carry. Let's say, okay, you can carry the gun, but let's say, I don't know, you're on private property and they don't want you to have the gun, or you're trespassing or some other shit. And then that leads to, 1, 2, 3. And the next thing you're getting slapped with all this unlawful possession of a firearm, illegal shit and everything else, all because there was one misstep that you made, and now everything after that is illegal, and everything after that rolls into a felony. You could be rolling with somebody else that engages in some bullshit, but you got the firearm on your person. And here's the other thing, and let me finish the sentence. You got the firearm on your person, and somehow you get dragged into that bullshit. I mean, my man was giving me all type of wild ass examples. He was like, the beauty about the CCW is that firearm is attached to me. He's like, it's attached to me and my person. It's not attached to anybody else. And so you get into situations, because like New York, for example, if they get caught in a car, I think this was like the whole story with Biggie, somebody taking an L for Biggie and taking a gun charge, where in New York it's 3 years, right? But again, in Florida, if there's too much weed in the car, any number of things. You know what I mean? Like if there's another felon in the car, and then they're like, oh well, he had access to the car, like let's access to the gun because the gun was in the center console, or maybe the gun was in the glove compartment, even though it's your car, but it's on his side, it's on the passenger side of the car where the guy that has the felony is sitting. So it could be argued that he has access to the firearm, and you are somehow an accessory to allowing a felon to have access to a firearm. I mean, it's all type of bullshit. And so he was like, look, regardless, I'm gonna have my permit. But I'm just telling y'all, you know, I know that the black liberals and the black olders, they're gonna jump up and be like, we don't want constitutional carry, acting like they're saving black people. But remember, they don't have a black agenda; they have a democratic agenda. So they're gonna jump up and they're gonna, call all the white people who want, the Second Amendment and constitutional carry. They're all gonna be white supremacists, and that's what it is. And they just want to go out here and kill black people. That's gonna be their argument. But that's not where young black men are gonna get jammed up. I mean, y'all really got to understand what I'm saying. It doesn't say anything about you using that fire. The CCW, and again, this like this is what I hate about some of these laws and how they're written in the language, and like what it really means. Because the CCW, it's understood that you have a CCW permit or a license to carry for self-defense. That's understood. But constitutional carry, it doesn't really cover you. It doesn't cover you in a self-defense situation. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt if there is a benefit of the doubt to be made. You're just some random motherfucker walking around with a gun, even though you can legally carry that gun. Then you got other stuff, because he talked about how, a lot of the buildings and stuff in stores used to have 10/20 life, like stickers on the door. Like that was their, like, if you come in here and you do some wild shit, you show a gun, you pull a gun or whatever, 10/20 life, but and I don't know if some of these laws, I think some of the laws changed because of the whole, what was the Michael Dunn case, where that was the one down in Florida. It was like right outside Orlando where what was the boy's name? It was a Jordan something. Anyway, the brothers was in the car with a bunch of friends at the gas station, and their music was too loud, and the white guy was like, I don't like that Jungle Bunny music, and then they got into some sort of argument or altercation, and then Michael Dunn shot the car. I think Michael Dunn is the white guy that did it, but he shot at the car, and then he did some time in prison. This is like back in like 2012, if y'all remember the case, okay? And so that was the whole thing with the loud music and him shooting them at the gas station. Florida gas stations are real funny. You know what I mean? Like it's on some Nardo Wick type of shit where it's like, pumping gas with my gun out. Like it's like that in Florida. Like, you can get ran up on, rolled up on, four guys jump out of a car, especially if you going, you're at a gas station, weird hours of night and everything, because there are a lot of guns in Florida. There's a lot of that going on. There's, all type of street gangs and just young people, looking to do some stupid shit. They have access to them. That's the whole thing. That's the reality of when the guns are out there and available, and they've been out there and available. Restricting the guns, only makes it where the law-abiding people basically have nothing. But Florida, in my opinion, heavily favors the person with the CCW. Now that it's going to go to constitutional carry, I guarantee you many of these laws are going to be used against young black men. to where even if they're defending themselves, like seriously, as a young black man, do you want to go up against, let's say there's another Michael Dunn situation and there's a white racist and he's foaming at the mouth and he has a CCW and you don't, and you're sitting there trying to argue, you got a dead white man over there and you're going to try to sit there and argue, well, self-defense and my constitutional right. There's so many times where that self-defense argument doesn't work. And I see it not working the vast majority of the time because the brothers don't have a concealed carry weapons permit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know why young black men, the minute you turn 21, you don't go out there and get your goddamn paperwork. You see this shit what happened with DaBaby and they try to run up, but DaBaby's already killed 2 people that tried to run up on him. One in the Walmart and in another situation that he had. I don't know if it was a home invasion or not. But I'm saying he defended himself twice. He's legal. People were bitching about Fulio, in Jacksonville, and he was getting shot at or something like that, and he was driving. He had the gun, and he was live streaming and shit like that. It was like, yo, you self snitching, not knowing that Fulio is legal. Fulio is a legal gun owner. He can have all the guns in the video he want. Feds ain't coming knocking. Regardless of how much of gang affiliated he is, unless they catch him in some shit, unless he's, they can tie him to a homicide, he is legal. He has not been caught yet. He doesn't have any criminal record. He can have all the guns that he wants to have. Okay? I'm just saying, it's to me, after hearing, what my man was saying about the ways in which you can get caught up and the ways in which, even the police officers can finesse and just any which way, and say, oh, well, you were doing this during the commission of a crime, even if the gun is not even used in the commission of the crime. All they got to do is assert that there was a crime committed, especially one that is a felony, and then tie that back to the fact that you were in a possession of a gun during the commission of a felony, and then bam, now you're done. Now you're done. Now, and at the very least, like, you can get arrested all day, every day. And then you got to prove yourself out of the situation. Like, even my man, he was talking about how he got pulled over and he's got a CCW, right? But the cops is always fucking with him because he looks like a street dude. They think they got something every time they pull him over. So, they tried to charge him. They tried to claim that they pulled him over because his vehicle was stolen. Right? That he was in a stolen vehicle. Right? Now, let's say, you got, again, young and dumb and immature and all that other type of shit, right? And you go, yeah, constitutional carry, what I'm saying? Let my ops come at me and all this other dumb shit that y'all do, right? So your man comes and picks you up, right? You don't know that he's telling you, man, I got a new car or whatever. He comes, picks you up. You don't know that shit is stolen. You know what I mean? Or because there's other ways. It doesn't mean that, like, he just stole it 5 minutes ago. It could be changed VIN numbers, changed the title. He got the shit, through some sketchy means or whatever. But the car is stolen. So you riding around, you know what I mean? And you smell this shit all the time in Florida. When you in Florida and you driving on the road, you be like, God damn, these niggas is puffing all over the place. Like, you smell the weed in it, especially on the weekend. Oh my God, you smell the weed every fucking where. Just driving down a main highway or some shit like that. You just smell it everywhere. Cop pull you over, whoop whoop. Right, so now you're getting pulled over, you're getting hit with the weed shit. Oh, and the car is stolen. And here you are sitting in the passenger seat. Right, you going, oh, constitutional carry officer. No, you with him. How do I know that you didn't steal? So now you're getting arrested, and you're going to get charged with those two things. You're going to get charged with in a stolen automobile. So now you're getting into the Grand Theft Auto, right? So now those two things, you being in possession of a gun and the fact that the car was stolen, is going to be put together, and now you got to fight a gun charge and the fact that the car was stolen, and you got to prove that you have no affiliation with that with that whole situation. That's money, that's time, that's freaking now you got to lawyer up and everything. And let's face it, a lot of black people don't got it like that. You're not gonna be able to lawyer up. They're gonna give you a shitty ass public defender, and the public defender is gonna try to get you to plea out. Because if you don't plea out, guess what you're looking at? 10 to 20 to life. That's what you're looking at. Yeah, I mean, look, this shit was such a revelation because it was never something I considered, but it's all based on that 10 to 20 life mandatory prison sentence that they got going on in Florida. Now, it might be different in Texas. It might be different in many of these other states. You know what I mean? But that mandatory minimum type of shit, 10 years, the judge has zero discretion. If you don't have any money to lawyer up, you're going to get slapped with that public defender. And then you're going to plea out, which you'll probably do, 3 to 5 or something like that, because you don't want to risk the 10. So that scares you straight. Right? And all of this started with, constitutional carry is my right, blah, 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 blah. But you don't have the resources to defend yourself. You see? And you see this all the time. You go on YouTube, pull it up, all these young black men with the wicks and all this other shit, and just how they get jammed up. And you should look at the time that they're getting. You know what I mean? That they get 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. You know what I mean? They will be in their 30s when they get out of jail. So I cannot express this. Just get the goddamn permit and be done with it. If you want to carry and you got no priors, you got no felonies, get the permit, especially in the state of Florida, because DeSantis is going to sign that constitutional carry. He's going to sign it. And I know a lot of young black men are going to be out here like, yeah, word to my dead ops. And they're going to be out here, trying to open carry and everything. And they're just, the officers, the cops, they just sitting there waiting for you to fuck up. They're waiting for you to be in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong crew. You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you getting jammed up. You know what I mean? The whole shit. You could have situations. I'll give you another stupid situation. You constitutional carrying. And they need to do something about this, but this is fucked up. You constitutional carrying. And you got undercovers running around. You know what I mean? They run up on you on some stupid shit. You don't know that they undercover. You thinking that that's your ops. So now you pull out and you shooting that undercover. You kill one of the undercover. What are you going to say? Self-defense? You see what I'm saying? Right? See, there's more coverage. There's more coverage. It's like, you know what it is? It's almost like with the Republicans. What the Democrats do with yes, we're going to legalize marijuana, smoke all the weed that you want, right? But then federally, marijuana will bar you, right? If you get hit with possession and whatnot, it'll bar you from gun ownership, depending on the state, right? Because they'll try to claim that you're an addict, right? If you have a marijuana card, that can bar you from concealed carry. Now, I don't know whether Clarence Thomas and the Supreme Court is going to change that, but, that's what it is right now. So when you go over to the Republicans, it's like, oh, you can constitutional carry all you want. Yeah, little niggas, go out there and constitutional carry. And you go out there, you constitutional carry, and you got no coverage. You got no coverage. You know what I mean? Y'all should be out here hitting these police officers with all type of disappointment, like that brother in, what was that? Was that DC? Where was that at? Maryland, somewhere, where the brother had that had that CCW permit, and my man was like, yeah, he got that license for their ass. You know what I mean? Like he hit him with that license. You know what I mean? It's like, and they were just clowning the cops because they was like, yeah, you wasn't ready for that. My man legal. He got that license for their ass. I love that clip. That clip cracks me up. Just the way my man was saying that shit. He got that license for their ass. You know what I'm saying? So that whole constitutional carry for black men, look, we can get into it's my right. You know, you want to sound like the white conservatives and shit. It's my right, my rights, my freedom, you know. But again, we already know this America is racist as fuck. And this is just a way to get you jammed up on not even committing a crime, just again, possession, and then trying to find a crime to link it to your possession of a firearm where you're not covered because you don't have a CCW. Because what I told my man is I said, you know what, it seems like it looks like, what I want to say, it looks like that having a CC, even if it's constitutional carry, it looks like having a CCW is creating a second tier of firearms ownership. I think South Dakota has two tiers of gun ownership. Like they have a 2-tier system. They have like advanced CCW license or something like that. I'm pretty sure South Dakota is one of the states that has that. You know, but the whole constitutional carry, again, like you don't want to be that guy defending yourself saying constitutional carry and the other guy has a license and it rings different. You saying I was standing my ground versus him saying he was standing his ground. It just sounds different. You know, when the person has a license and has already been vetted by the system. You know, consider them a pseudo police officer, a pseudo cop, if you will. You know, but after talking to my man and walking through the details of all the various ways that you can get jammed up by proxy, I was like, oh no, hell no. I was like, that's a trap. He's like, that's what I was trying to tell you. It's a nigga trap. They trying to trap dudes. He's like, we already went through that 10 20 to life. And then they got all these private property type of bullshit, you know, going on because you're not licensed. And if they don't want you on the property, they can say you trespassing, all this other type of shit. And next thing you know, 1, 2, 3 punch. And now you looking at, 10 years, 20 years, over a technicality. And then the judge can't do anything of it. It's not like, oh, well, Your Honor, he was here. My client was here and and his baby mama. And he was trying to hey, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They're going to be like, nigga, go straight to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go straight to jail. You know what I mean? And they hitting people, with these double digit numbers. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. And remember, it's Florida, right? Tallahassee. The Panhandle is full of Klans members. You know what I mean? So they're the one. That's where the capital is. That's where they passing all these damn laws. So their whole thing is, yeah, again, when they enforce this shit, it ain't going to be enforced evenly. It's not going to be, evenly distributed. Although I did find a story of a white guy who did get jammed up in the shit. His name is Eric Wyatt. And it's spelled not like Wyatt, like Wyatte, like, what is that how you spell Wyatt? Something like that, Hatt, something like that. No, it's spelled Weyant, Wyant. I guess that's how you would say it. But anyway, he got jammed up. White dude, back in, 2003. He was like 22 years old. He there's a story. I'll see if I put the link in the description box. He went to a bar or an event or something. He said his car was surrounded by a group of men. He pulled out his gun and fired it into the air to disperse this imminent attack that he thought was going to happen. And didn't say anything about him having a license. He just, shot the gun in the air. And they gave him, 10, because it's 10 for possession that you're not supposed to have, or, 10 or possession during the commission of a crime, 20 for brandishing the weapon during the commission of a crime, like if you pull it out, right? Like this is a stick up, right? And then life is like actually firing it, right? So if you fire the gun and somebody gets injured or harmed or something, you can go and you can look at the Florida statute. Just type in 1020 life Florida, it'll come right up. But anyway, he got 20 years. They gave him 20 years. And he was confident that he was going to beat the case. This white dude, he thought he was going to beat the case. He was like, oh, it was clearly self-defense. I mean, and they gave him 20 years. And he, I don't know when he got out, but he got out at 14 years after serving 14 years. So he lost 14 years of his life over a technicality. Now, like I said, they retroactively changed the law while he was still in prison, but there was no pathway for him to get out of jail. So they reevaluated the law and then recognized that his case was whatever unique, and they let him out. But that was after serving 14 years of his life in prison. So he got 14, and not only that, he's out. He's talking about, oh, get my life started and all this other stuff, and it's like he probably still has that as a felony. Yeah, he got out early release, but he's probably, a felon at this point. So now he's got to go through all that shit. You lose your gun rights. You lose your right to vote. You're discriminated against in housing. You're discriminated against when it comes to even trying to better yourself from an educational standpoint. Because if you have a felony, you can't fill out your FAFSA forms to get student loans. Even if you wanted to go that route. Even if you got into a university. So the whole thing is problematic. You see? So, watching his case, I was like, damn, so he, again, fired a gun in the air, remember Joe Biden, take it, buy a shotgun, fire 2 blasts in the air. Completely illegal. This is the president of the United States saying this shit. Fire 2 blasts in the air. Every state is different. Some states, they'll tolerate some shit like that. Other states won't. As a matter of fact, I don't think any state will tolerate you firing off warning shots. Any USCCA will tell you firing warning shots is bad. Freaking, US Law Shield will tell you firing warning shots is bad. It's just, you just don't do it. But he thought, like, he felt threatened, so he fired the gun in the air to get people to go, and they were like, nope. You go straight to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. So like I said, my man was like, it's a trap. It's a trap. He's like, we already went through that. You know what I'm saying? You get caught again. And I'm going to end this video, but I'm just saying watch a couple Jay Williams videos. Watch a couple of those videos. I can't tell you which one it is, or what videos, to watch. But yeah, he got a couple videos where people get jammed up. He had that story of that guy. He was a felon though, but the guy, he was fucking with some dude's girl. The guy came at him and was like, basically, I'm gonna kill you, all this other shit, right? And the guy, what did he do? He was like, yeah, all right, bet, whatever, but he was in the streets and he was carrying a gun illegally. Well, he went to some event. And he said he could hear the bullets whizzing past his head. And he turned around and he said the way that the shit was set up, like you could see the guy's silhouette in front of the car, like he was getting fired at. People started scattering shit. So he pulled his shit out and shot the guy dead. Right? And then basically, well, I'm trying to think what happened. So he shot the guy dead. Somebody took the gun, picked it up, because black people. Somebody picked up the gun of the man that was trying to kill him, and this guy was a felon. But because he was a felon, he couldn't claim self-defense because he shouldn't have had the gun in the first place. Even though I know this is a separate situation, I'm saying even if you're legal, a similar situation could happen, and you have a hard time proving yourself. So he was at this event, music bumping, trunks open, everybody hanging out, like how it's like almost the only thing I compare to for white people is like a college pep rally, tailgating and shit. So it was like black people was out there, in some park, and that's what they were doing, showing off their rims and all this other shit. So they bumping. And he shot the guy that was shooting at him because other people were running. But he was like, oh, I got my fire on me. Even though he's a felon, shot the dude dead. But somebody picked up the angry boyfriend's gun. And so when he tried to say, look, it was self-defense, they were like, well, okay, well, where's the gun? Well, somebody must have picked it up and took it. Oh, well, good luck with that one. Right? And then The fact the bullets probably did hit other people's cars, but you know how black people are. Ain't nobody snitching. Everybody roll the fuck out, So you're not gonna be able to get any details from the community to come back you up. Somebody's got bullet holes in their car, but guess what? They ain't talking about it. You know what I mean? Police come around. Man, I wasn't there. I ain't see nothing. So basically, the prosecutor, tried to, basically say that, he's a felon and he killed a man and that was it. And, they gave him a life sentence. You know what I mean? All because he was fucking some other dude's bitch and, and she was a 304 and, dude was all in his feelings and, figured that he was going to, get at the guy. Cause I think what originally happened is he beat the guy up because the guy, tried to confront him about, stay away from my girl. And they got into it and he beat the guy up. And so the guy felt some type of way about losing the fight. And so he was like, yeah, I'm going to get you, whatever. And freaking dude was at the party. I guess he figured out guy was at this event and he came up there with the intentions to freaking, to kill the dude. But he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So, I mean, the guy in the video, he was just like the bullets were whizzing past his ear, like sound like bees whizzing past him. And he was like, what the fuck? Turns around. He said the guy was standing in front of the headlights and you could see like the silhouette of his body and the flash coming out the front of the gun. I'm like, oh man. But dude is a felon. Maybe he could have got away with it. This was like, I think it was in Virginia. Maybe he could have got away with it if he wasn't a felon. Maybe. But I'm saying, is that the type of risk that you want to take? See, if you got CCW, you can be like, hey, you can do the classic, I was in fear of my life, officer, and I had a gun. You try to pull a George Zimmerman. Now, a lot of black people sit there and say that, oh, black people can never stand their ground and everything. But, I'm like, where are these kick-ass examples where you got black people who've dotted the I's, crossed the T's, and, stand your ground or castle doctrine doesn't work for them? People tried to bring up the Marissa Alexander case. Bad example. Marissa Alexander, who was supposedly being abused by her husband. That was her claim. She left the house, went to her vehicle, retrieved the firearm, and then went back into the house and shot the gun at, her ex-husband's head. That is not self-defense. So when people were trying to be like, oh, George Zimmerman has stand your ground and Marissa Alexander didn't because she's a black woman and racism, that's not accurate. That was not accurate. Black Authority did a whole video on that. He broke that shit all the way down. Reading the affidavit and all the other type of shit. He had all the court documents. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I listened to this. But, the freaking, CNN and everybody ran out there. They were like, it's stand your ground and these laws is racist and da-da-da-da-da. I'm not saying that Florida law or Florida police are not racist. I'm saying y'all got to give me an example, a good example of where we can look at the shit objectively and be like, oh, so clearly that is definitely racism. So again, when people want to say, and the thing is the concept of stand your ground is not the problem. The concept or the issue is the application of the law. Is it being applied evenly? Is it being applied in an unbiased manner? But most of the time, these situations are going to be black men shooting at other black men, black men that are in the streets or dabbling in the streets or got friends in the streets. And, I mean, that's the whole downside of even hanging out with a lot of other brothers, is because a lot of times you'll be hanging out with a dude you may not have ops, but he does. And you rolling around and this dude got some dude running around, trying to smoke his ass. And you don't even know. You just hanging out with the motherfucker and, next thing you know, his car rolls up and sparks is flying. You like, what the fuck is going on? You don't even know what's going on. Oh, shit, that's that nigga I owe money. And now you doing 90 on the highway. Like, the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? That's why you got to watch the company that you keep. But, I'm just saying, just looking at the whole thing, I'm telling you, brothers, if you're in the state of Florida, do not get all giddy like some schoolgirls and get, yeah, man, that's right. We can protect ourselves now. Them ops. Because first of all, white people, they want to have constitutional carry because they don't want to deal. They're not in the streets. They don't want to deal with the red tape and everything else like that. But some of you, y'all like, again, there's this whole, I'll use the word that, even though I hate it, because I know it comes from prolonged exposure to poverty, but there is a culture of freaking, violence, and what do you want to call it? This sort of hostility towards one another in the black community, where you got a lot of black men that are very quick. They're mad at somebody. Oh, you fucked my girl. Oh, you disrespected me. And they're willing to go out there and take somebody's life over some bullshit. All because they mad about, the slightest insult. And you're going to have guys out here that you get into a beef with somebody, you know what I mean? Everything's cool. And then next week you got in a beef with somebody, and then somebody's like, yo, man, watch out, man. I heard JoJo was looking for your ass. Oh, word? JoJo looking for me? All right. You know what I mean? And then again, you don't get your permit. You don't got your shit. And JoJo is actually looking for your ass because he's just a wild type. But now you sitting there saying, yeah, constitutional carry. Yeah, when I see this nigga, man, it's going to be curtains, right? That's you saying some stupid shit. You know what I mean? And maybe you're in the right and he's shooting at you, but you shoot back. And now you got to prove that it wasn't a homicide. People misconstruing the story. Now saying that it wasn't JoJo looking for you. You was looking for JoJo. Now what you going to do? You see? So that is one of the I have seen, like, even the opposite, like people with CCWs. I'm not saying that CCWs protect you in all situations, but I have seen situations where a person that doesn't have a CCW, and example, like in the state of Florida, like previously, or what the law is before DeSantis signs it, was, if you want to carry a gun, you have to have a license. So I have seen situations in the state of Florida where you got a person that's got a CCW and they got beef with somebody else. Other person don't know they have a CCW, but they want to get all rah-rah with it. You know what I mean? It do what it do and all that other shit. So they come pulling up. And it's like, and I have heard out of people's mouths. And again, I have the same mentality. I'm like, yo, that motherfucker could have smoked you. He could have smoked you and claimed self-defense because you came all the way over here. He's where he's supposed to be. He's in his locale. He's at his spot. And you came over here and you pulled up in his driveway on his property. I'm like, he could have deaded you right here, said self-defense, got the CCW, and that would have been the end of you. I'm like, you're stupid. I mean, just stupid. Not thinking about that. I'm saying that's how much the shit covers you. Even though, again, it's not supposed to be used for that malicious purpose. And the person, fortunately, had self-control and didn't smoke. But it's like, yo, don't you ever come over here, you know what I mean, on some shit like that. Like, you just gonna pull up. And like, again, he would have been well in his rights. The other dude, he would have been well in his rights to smoke this dude. Well in his rights. We're within his rights. So I'm just saying, like, it's just something to consider. It's, I'm blown away because I never considered this before. I was like, constitutional carry, I'm like, I'm still getting my permit. That's my attitude. And that's the attitude of my mans. We like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm still getting my paperwork. Fuck you. I'm still getting my permit. You know what I mean? Because you never know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get the benefit of the doubt in situations like that. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt with constitutional carry. You just a random motherfucker with a gun, and they don't know whether you're a felon or not. And again, it's in the name. It's constitutional carry. If you get a concealed carry weapons permit, it's baked into that's for self-defense. But constitutional carry is kind of like a sleight of hand. It's like, yeah, you can carry it. You can carry it. You don't need a permit to carry it. But the whole technicality and the details of actually using the firearm for self-defense, that's a different story. Now, again, it depends on the state. But again, Florida has that funky ass 10/20 life bullshit. Get you caught up on some other shit now. Oh, yes, I'm so glad you got your gun with you. And now we're going to try to, connect this to the idea that some law was broken. Now you're a person in possession of a gun during the commission of a crime. Oh, throw the book at his ass. It's real slick. And if you brothers aren't careful, I'm telling you, you guys in your 20s, if you are not careful, you're gonna get jammed up in this shit. And your mama gonna be crying, and your grandmama gonna be crying, and all these people gonna be all upset and everything else like that. Like, that's what's gonna happen. I'm telling you right now, that's what's gonna happen. Because my man broke that shit down. I was like, ooh, how did I overlook this shit? And that may be because constitutional carry is like a new concept, and it's not even one that I've looked into because I don't particularly care for it. And not only that, the states that I'm usually in would never go for anything like that. Because 50% of the country, isn't about doing that. So in any event, I just wanted to, put this out here, get y'all to think about it, cover your ass, you know what I'm saying? Put your paperwork in. If you don't got no felonies, you ain't got shit to worry about. I'm telling you, having a CCW is liberating. It's liberating. And I'm saying, even, to this day, I have yet to have to present any of my licensees to a law enforcement, to a peace officer. Haven't done it, haven't been asked for it, but I think that a lot of the type of interactions that people have with law enforcement is based on how they look, not just from a racial standpoint, but from a class standpoint and from a, how you dress. I'm a lame, plain and simple. There's certain clothes I just don't wear. I don't wear clothes with logos and shit like that. I don't even wear sneakers like that. Quiet as is kept. I'm wearing like casual boot wear. Or maybe like designer shoes that are, subtle, that are inconspicuous. That's the type of attire I wear. And a lot of times, if I'm around street dudes, they think I'm undercover. They think I'm a cop every time. So if I say, oh, I'm in healthcare or whatever, they're like, oh, okay. Because they know you got to be somewhat of a square in order to be involved in that. But they're just looking at me, and then cops, like I said, they treat you different and I don't know how, so I've seen shit with black athletes having these sort of issues, but I think it's another thing. I'm out of the age group that is problematic. That's another thing that a lot of young brothers don't consider. Like, eventually you will age out of the group that the cops are even looking for you. Like, that was one of the signs that like highlights that you're old. Okay, when the cops, like, they look at your license and shit. I look younger than I am, but I'm like, they look at your license and shit like that, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're not the ones we're looking for. I had to explain that to my man. I'm like, they ain't looking for you. You're too old. What do you mean? You're too old? They're not looking for you. You're not in that age. You're not 22 anymore. You're not 19. You're not the trouble population. People expect you to be firmly established in your career, and you got mortgage payments, and you got kids, and you got a wife or a significant other or whatever. Like, so you're not the problem population. That's another thing when we want to talk about, young black men getting jammed up. But the other thing is, and I've tried to emphasize this, when you are physically fit, and I'm not saying this is in every scenario, but when you are physically fit, and it can work against you where cops can see you as a dangerous threat and all this other shit. But there's a lot of respect given to when you're physically fit, because it's a sign of discipline. And a lot of people overlook that. They're like, oh, this motherfucker. Like in other words, they're like, he probably doesn't do drugs or isn't into drugs. Look how fit this dude is. You know what I'm saying? I need to ask him about pointers about working out. I need to ask him, what type of way do you take or some shit like that. There's a slight difference. It doesn't happen all the time, but I can definitely say it happens most of the time for me. You know, with most cops, the conversation goes to some, man, you play sports, man, goddamn. You know, like it'll go in that direction. But you know, I do think that there is definitely a bias when, you know, if you the type and you in Florida and you got the wicks or you got gold teeth or you got, you know, just look like you're in the streets, you got chains and shit like that. Yeah, chances of them fucking with you, chances of them ripping your car apart, chances of them trying to do illegal searches and everything else is pretty fucking high. Because they think that they're on to something. They're like, I know we gotta have something here. I know we gotta. They're looking for it. Because all they gotta do is find something illegal, and then again, constitutional carry, you got that gun. They put the two together, commit, unlawful possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Boom, got his bitch ass. And so y'all gotta be aware of this shit. Don't play their game. Go out here, get your paperwork, get all that stuff, and you don't have to worry about this. I can carry all the guns I want. What? You see? But I just had to put that out here because, yeah, man. I mean, that was an interesting conversation. And when he was breaking that shit down, I was like, wait, how? I'm like, it's constitutional carry. You have a right to carry. You don't have to have a license. He was like, nah, I'm trying to tell you. He was like, we already went through that. You know what I mean? Go listen to Trick Daddy, 10-20 to life. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go listen to it. You know what I mean? I don't even know whether there's details in the song or not. I'm like, okay, all right. He's like, we already went through it. There's many. He's like, you got dudes that are getting out just now because they got caught up in that shit. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, they're getting out of jail just now because they caught some 10-20 to life shit because they had a gun on them and then they tried to connect it to some sort of crime and said that it was during the commission of a crime and then here's the mandatory sentence. Shit is crazy. But anyway, I'm belaboring the point. So let me end this video. That's my video, SWP. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. All right, I went and listened to that Trick Daddy song, and he said something in that song that goes back to what my man was saying. He added this as well. The whole private sales thing in Florida. He said, now that you're going to have more people that are going to, constitutional carry, plus you have private sales.
Could you try again?
No, I can't. So, plus, come on. So anyway, plus the fact that you have, the private sales and the constitutional carry, he's like, you'll have guys that don't have a concealed carry weapons permit, right? And the guns are going to be just flowing back and forth. People cop some shit, go back to the store, sell it back, try to get something better, trading guns in. He's like, look, you'll have guns that he's like one of the best ways to get rid of a gun with a body is to go to a police buyback. He's like, they'll take the gun right off of your hands. No questions asked. He's like, they'll take the gun right off of your hands. So you're going to have dudes doing that. And he's like, you also have, guns that will have bodies on them that will go back into the freaking marketplace. Now, I don't know how true this is. This type of gun freedom to me is, it's foreign, in terms of, because I've always, been in states where you got to have a firearms ID card and you got to have all this shit and whatnot. Pennsylvania is not like that. But Jersey, New York, Maryland, these states, definitely are. But, on the East Coast. But Florida, I'm like, one of the things that he pointed out is, and it was right in the song, right in the Trick Daddy song, towards the end, where he talks about a dude's he got pulled over with a gun that had a body on it. It was like the same gun that was used to kill somebody else. So he gets hit with the body. Now I don't know, how the forensics and all that work, how the shit gets, tied back, whether it's shell casings or I don't think they do the whole barrel thing anymore because, the grooves on the barrel or something like that because,
especially with Glocks, you can just swap out the barrel. Like you can go over there on AIM Surplus or any other number of sites and get Glock barrels. You just swap the barrel out. So I kind of thought that forensics had kind of changed, but I'm just saying, who knows when this song came out or what it is, what's on it, whatever. Or, I mean, when the song was originally purposed. But, I was like, that's a good point. Because see, the thing is when you have a CCW, or when you have some sort of documentation of what guns are yours and they're tied to you and they're connected to you, that's one thing. But if you're just rolling out here constitutional carry and, guns are kind of just like freely moving and there's because he said something about they used to have a list that they would check the guns against to see if they were stolen, to see if they like the serial numbers and all that other stuff. But he was like, then the Republicans did some shit where they eliminated something so that there wasn't a registry type of list thing. And again, you Floridians, you can break this down because I don't know. I do not know how any of this stuff works. The laws keep changing so rapidly. I can't keep up. I used to be able to keep up. I can't keep up. So, he was just saying that you could have somebody out here constitutional carry. They go out here with a gun that's got a body on it, and then they get pulled over, and then, something happens. Basically, going back to what I was saying, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And then when all the investigating is going on and you trying to sort this out and da-da-da-da-da, oh, this gun has a body on it. This gun was used to kill DeMarcus, Johnson or some shit like that. And you're like, what? You know what I mean? But, like, where'd you get the gun from? You're like, my friend sold it to me. It was a private sale, da-da-da-da-da. Shit got a body on it. You see what I'm saying? With a CCW, it's like, what are the chances that somebody with a CCW is going to use a weapon that's attached to them? But then again, in like example, Jersey, handguns are registered to the person that bought the gun. And then it's even wackier where, with the whole concealed carry thing, you can only use the gun that you qualify for, but then they change the rules. Like, it's all type of stupid. But I don't know how that works in Florida because technically speaking, you can have any gun and you could do a private sale. So how do you know if the gun doesn't have a body on it? You see how messy this can get? And people are running out here going, hell yeah, man, constitutional carry. Like, you see how messy it can get for a young black man getting caught up in some shit? Oh, man, how much is that Sky pistol? Oh, I'll sell it to you for, whatever, $250. Oh, deal. That sounds like a great deal. Okay, bye. And shit got 3 bodies on it. And you don't have a permit, none of that. And you just riding around, carrying the shit, get pulled over because the car smell like marijuana or some shit. You got a little bit too much weed. Now you're getting hit with, marijuana, the gun, freaking, and the fact that the gun might have multiple bodies on. I mean, it's just talk about going to jail for 20 years for some shit that you didn't do. It's just some shit to think about. All I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's just some shit to think about. None of this is perfect. This is giving me a whole bunch to think about. But, my attitude is cover your ass. You got the permit. You know what I mean? I don't want to be I wouldn't want to be the prosecutor trying to, charge somebody that's a harder thing to do. I could be wrong on that, but it seems like it's a harder thing to do because now the NRA is more likely to come out and cape for your ass because and he had a concealed carry weapons permit, da da da. Like now you get into that, you know what I mean? But you got to be squeaky clean. People like, oh, the NRA didn't come out against Philando Castile. I already told y'all the NRA got to walk that tightrope when it came to, so we support law enforcement and, defending, concealed carry holders. It's got to be a squeaky clean situation. Otherwise, they don't want to open their mouth. Right. And then NRA is, pretty much in sharp decline anyway. Now it's Guns of America. But I'm just saying, they don't want to open their mouth if it's not squeaky clean. There's other black people that the NRA, came to their aid, the whole McDonald case. NRA came to the aid. The black woman who was living in public housing and wanted to carry a gun, I think it was in Baltimore, they came to her aid. Baltimore or DC, one of them, I could be wrong. But I forget what her name was. Coleon Noir did a video on it, covering that. Shaneen Allen, NRA, came to her defense. She was a black woman who was in the city of Philadelphia, who went to some party in Atlantic City in Jersey and, got pulled over on the way back, which is common. You people get pulled over on Atlantic City Expressway and for speeding or whatever. And then she, tried to be a law-abiding citizen and tell the police officer, hey, officer, just for your safety and mine, I have, a concealed carry weapons permit. Oh, here's the officer. Where's the gun at? Oh, it's in my purse. Oh, could you step out of the car? Oh, what's the problem? Yeah, because Jersey doesn't recognize anybody's permits. So she got jammed up and they tried to throw her in jail like she was a criminal. This is where you get into the stupid liberal laws and shit like that. Where it's like, are these laws for actual criminals, or are these laws just because you don't like guns and you want to scare everybody into not exercising their Second Amendment rights by punishing otherwise law-abiding people? You see what I'm saying? Like, so, there's enough, like, on the political spectrum, I really wish that there was some sort of real common sense when it comes to, either way that you want to approach it. Again, I'm a strong Second Amendment advocate. You know what I mean? But, the things like, I don't say I'm against private sales, but all that, I'm not the biggest fan of private sales without, like, if I sell a gun to somebody, like, nah, you're getting that shit transferred to you. We're going to go down to the FFL dealership and you're going to get transferred to you. I'm not selling you a gun and I'm the first buyer on it and that shit's still attached to me. Fuck you. I'm not doing that. I'm covering my own ass when I do that. It's not a matter of, it's my right to sell the gun to whoever I want to sell the gun. That's dumb to me. Because now if that gun leaves, and is used in a homicide, I don't want the FBI knocking or ATF knocking on my door. Why are you knocking on my door? I transferred that gun is transferred to the next owner. And this is where getting all that, we're trying to shut down, private sales, and it's a loophole. That's what they're trying to do. But on the Republican side, they come, with their shit where they're like, Scout's honor. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't sell a gun to unknown felons, Scout's honor. Like, really? That's kind of, I don't buy in that Scout's honor bullshit either. I think there needs to be a process to transfer a gun to somebody else, and everybody should want to do that. But, I've heard all type of arguments. How would you check that? How would you register? How would you know which guns are which? Say, where'd you get that gun? Oh, I bought it at a gun show. When I was living in Georgia, it's mine. It's like, okay, well, where's the receipt? Well, there was only this piece of paper with a signature on it, bill of sale. You know what I mean? Like that's where, a lot of these, not even a lot of them, most guns that are used in criminal activity are stolen guns. They're not from even people selling guns privately. That's not where your crime gun, the majority of your crime. Can crime guns come from that? Yeah, sure they can. But the majority of your crime guns come from stolen guns and straw purchases. Getting the girlfriend to buy the gun for the boyfriend and she doesn't have any felonies. I got a friend of mine that, he has a domestic violence charge from his first marriage. And his current wife, everything is in her name. You see what I'm saying? So, like, there's ways around the shit any goddamn way. Like, if especially if you're the breadwinner and you're paying for everything, like, what is she going to say? No? You know what I mean? You got her in a brand new Escalade. What's she going to say? No? If you say, hey, honey, I want you to go buy this gun, and you're doing her hair and her nails and everything else like that, you know what I mean? And you got kids together, like, please, that's a joke. You know what I mean? I don't know if the laws should change after a man remarries and then the second wife determines whether he should have access to guns or something like that. But then what if both of them don't like the first wife? So then she feels threatened. Like, it gets messy. But I'm just saying there's always ways around some shit. But yeah, that's just something to consider. I'm gonna go back and listen to that song again. But he kind of basically said, some shit went down and dude got jacked for his drugs or something like that, and then something with the girlfriend, and then he had a gun that had a body on it, and then he got pulled over, and then they gave him freaking 20 years and shit like that or whatever. So that's how people are getting jammed up in the state of Florida. And that constitutional carry is just going to catch more young black men in its web. So anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video for the second time. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.